Hello, everyone. My name is Selva. I'm the head of marketing at Servion. Firstly, thanks for taking your time off and joining us for this workshop today. Let me quickly go through the proceedings for the day. So we'll start off with introductions and then move over to a presentation by Satish, which will cover the CX challenges, the digital adoption, and the growing importance of employee experience, more to do with the agent experience, personalization, and innovation in the contact center space. And then we'd have a quick point of view with both Raja and Animesh, and then deep dive into the Genesis Cloud platform. Amit would take us through that. And we'd end the session with the Q&A with Raja and Animesh. Okay, some ground rules for the workshop itself. So every attendee would be muted. So you can ask your questions using the Q&A panel. We'll take that questions towards the end of the session. And all attendees and registrants would receive a copy of this recording of this workshop. Okay, quick introduction to our speakers. We've got Raja, Lakshmipathy, and Animesh Shrivastava from Servion. Raja is the managing director and managing director of India and SAC at Genesis, and he's responsible for the sales strategy at Genesis. He's got more than 27 years of experience in the contact center and customer experience space, and he's held senior positions with Cisco, BT, and Avaya prior to his role with Genesis. Just to give you a background about Animesh, Animesh is also a person with similar experience. He's the managing director and SVP of India and Middle East at Servion. And he also comes in with 25 years of experience in the contact center and customer experience space. He's held very senior positions with AGC Networks and Tata Telecom prior to a stint with Servion. We also have Satish and Amit Shrivastava, who are the senior business consultant and senior solutions consultant. So Satish would take us through that CX research report that we were talking about, and Amit would be the person who handles the Genesis Cloud demo today. Okay, over to you, Satish.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Satish. I manage our business consulting for India and South Asia for Genesis. Welcome to the State of CX survey. So the State of CX is an ongoing series of consumer and business research by Genesis, and I'll share the highlights from this survey. This research was initiated in 2017, and we executed it again this year in 2021. This report compares trends over time to understand how consumers prefer to interact with a business and what they value in a customer experience. It explores trends in the CX function, including key priorities and the leading challenges executives face today. It also explores the changes in consumers' channel preferences and satisfaction and trends in personalization. Our survey covered all the major regions in the world, including Asia Pacific, North America, Latin America, Europe, and the Middle East. And it includes insights from over 2,600 consumers and 690 different executives covering multiple industries. Next slide, please. The first result I want to talk about is on the channel usage. And the question we asked consumers was, which channels did they use for a customer service interaction over the past 12 months? And you can see two bars here. The orange bars show the 2017 results and the blue ones show the 2021 results. Let me unpack some of the key findings on this slide. Voice is still the most used channel that hasn't changed, though its share has significantly reduced. As CX practitioners, we know that customer experience has dramatically changed over the last couple of years, and the biggest shift, no doubt, is in digital. Messaging, mobile apps, and bots have all grown over 2x in this period. Virtual home assistants, which did not even exist as a customer service channel a few years ago, has shown the most increase. There were also some regional differences here. In APAC and in Latin America, over 60% of consumers had used messaging apps. And we know this is true because all of us are living it in our day-to-day life. And it'll be really interesting to see how the channel mix evolves when we do our next survey. Next slide. The next result we look at is what consumers think are the most important attributes of customer service. Here, customers overwhelmingly chose empathy over speed. They wanted agents who will fully listen to them, really understand their current situation, and then solve it for them. Their experience should be personalized to their account status, history, and their current activities with the company. These are followed by not having to repeat the same information either across different channels or with various different agents, and the ability to anticipate their intentions and proactively offering relevant solutions. We know that personalized experiences rooted in empathy unlock trust with customers, which in turn generates loyalty over a period. Next, please. Personalization and loyalty are not just fuzzy concepts, and we believe that they lead to real, tangible value for enterprises. And we wanted to test whether customers really agreed on our hypothesis and ask them about personalization, and specifically about whether they are likely to take any of these actions. Just a second. Whether they're likely to take any of these actions. Across the board, we saw increasing numbers from 2017 to 2021. When companies deliver personalized experiences over 80, can you just skip to the next slide? Sorry about that. Across the board, we saw numbers increasing from 2017 to 2021. When companies deliver personalized experiences, over 80% of customers are willing not only to continue business, but also want to deepen their engagement with the company. They will purchase more products and services, purchase them more often, and recommend the brand to their friends and colleagues. In our context of CX, personalization does not only mean additional products to buy or which next shows to watch. It also covers how customers are treated when they interact with an enterprise. Does the enterprise really understand who the customer is, what the reason for interaction could be, and what is the right resource, whether it's a human or a machine, which needs to interact with them and address their questions? We then flip the question and ask CX leaders on their capabilities in personalization today. 44% of enterprises claim to offer extremely personalized services, while the rest have limited personalization capabilities. So there's a long way to go in terms of personalization for enterprises. Next slide, please. Over the last few years, the role of CX and its leaders' responsibilities have only increased in scope and complexity. And our next question was on the top challenges leaders face today. Consumer expectations have increased along with interaction touchpoints, and interaction volumes have grown multifold. But the majority of the CX leaders are still working with legacy technology and are struggling to deliver a consistent quality of service. Customers are generating vast amounts of data, but CX functions cannot fully leverage them or use them intelligently during an interaction. And they are constantly under pressure to add new channels and capabilities quickly. On the agent side, things are complex as well. Agent engagement, enabling continuous learning, remote working are all challenges, and agent churn continues as they do not have access to tools or data which can help them to do their job better. Next slide, please. While these challenges are tough, they also influence the directions and actions which enterprises can take. So we looked ahead and asked CX leaders about their company's top CX priorities for 2021 and beyond. Using data and AI for understanding customers and personalization is the top priority, followed by enhancing data capabilities for insights, analytics, and then improving efficiencies through self-service. Employee engagement, training, and managing remote work are critical as well, with over 1/3 calling it really important. Next slide. We then drill down into specific capabilities which are needed to translate these strategic priorities into action. We asked them about capabilities which they consider as extremely valuable for CX. We found that predictive and AI capabilities, both for customers and agents, top the list. Digital engagement, journey management and orchestration, and cloud follow closely afterwards. The common thread around these key capabilities is how can enterprises use data to orchestrate the customer journey. Their effectiveness in executing this orchestration will be key to the experiences they deliver. Next, please. One theme which we saw in the previous slide is cloud. And while cloud is not a specific capability, it is a foundational technology to most of these capabilities. Cloud helps customers to keep their lights on and serve their customers through the global challenges we faced last year. And cloud is a top technology priority for enterprises, not only in CX, but across their whole technology portfolio. We asked leaders about their key drivers for migrating to cloud, and the top reasons being easy access to data across channels, ability to add new channels and capabilities faster, business continuity, and the ability to scale resources on demand are some of the key drivers. Given the dynamic and fast-changing CX landscape, the core characteristics of cloud, such as agility, flexibility, and scale, are critical to delivering experiences and executing them efficiently. Next, please. Now, I want to close by summarizing the actions which CX leaders can take today. First, start off by personalizing experiences and showing empathy to your customers. And the first step really for companies to provide this experience is just to know their customers' expectations, needs, and preferences better. This requires improving their listening channels, whether it's using digital engagement to understand intent, real-time sentiment analysis to adjust in the moment, or AI across digital channels to gather insights. AI is similarly assisting voice channels with natural language processing, speech to text, and sentiment analysis. Companies are rewarded for providing personalization with greater loyalty, stronger advocacy, and increased wallet share. Next, as we know that voice is not going away anytime soon, supercharging your agents is definitely a priority. There are various capabilities you can add to empower your employees to provide better service. These include agent assistance technology to provide knowledge and prompts with next best actions in real time. Quality management and workforce optimization tools can also identify your training needs, give staff deeper insights into their own performances, and offload time-consuming administrative tasks. Third, break down your data silos. The top initiatives in 2021 related to data, using data and AI for customer understanding and personalization, and gaining deeper insights to drive performance improvement. Organizational silos that prevent data sharing act as barriers to CX success. Businesses must break down these silos to gain a full perspective of the customer journey, as well as the effectiveness of individual interactions. And finally, plot your path to cloud. Survey data shows that the majority of CX leaders are evaluating cloud migration for their CX. There are numerous benefits to moving to the cloud, including better access to data, faster innovation, a simplified user experience, and agility in resource management. The key question is, how do you get there from your current state with the least amount of disruption and risk? Given our limited time, I've only provided you a teaser of the CX survey results. For an in-depth access to the complete survey, including regional preferences, device choices, and much more, do sign up and we'll send you the results in an email. Now, Amit will walk you through some of the key capabilities we discussed and illustrate how you can deliver personalized experiences for both your customers and agents. Thank you.
Thanks, Satish. That was insightful. Before we move on to the demo, let's just take some point of views from both Raja and Animesh. Over to you, Raja and Animesh. So what are your thoughts? Now, Satish has shared his insights from the CX research report. This is at a global level. Now, are the trends the same for the APAC and India region, or is it any different, Raja?
Yeah, thanks, Selva. Hey, very good morning to each and every one of you taking time out and joining this webinar. It means a lot for us to kind of have you on this session. Look, I mean, the whole reason that we try to do this survey every year is to understand the gap between the changing market landscape and what we perceive as our internal matrices to measure the success of a contact center, right? There has always been a gap, but if you look at it in the last 18 months post-pandemic, the gap has, become larger and larger. Just to take you through, right? This was an eye-opener for all of us within Genesys, and I thought, our customers would definitely be delighted to kind of understand where they are in their customer experience journey, right? In the last 18 months, especially, Selva, if you look at it, the trends, some of the trends that we are reading today is almost like there's been an increase in the kind of remote workers in the past 18 months, right? Contact center has always traditionally been considered as something which happens within the four walls, right? But today, almost 50% of the workforce is remote, which used to be something like 10-12%, right? Hardly anything, right? So there's been a 300% growth in terms of the remote workers compared to the pre-COVID situation, right? The other one is the growth of digital interactions that Satish spoke about, right? More and more customers are wanting to move to a digital kind of first strategy because of the operational, technical, and regulatory framework, right? I mean, that is something which is evolved in the last 18 months. And the third aspect is anything physical has become everything virtual, by the way, right? Today, 65% of companies wanting to kind of engage virtually first, right? We have always seen this. The footfalls are reducing, whether it is in a bank or whether it is in a retail industry or whether it is in anything that you talk about, right? I'm absolutely kind of like this is going down. And then the companies are finding ways to engage virtually first. I mean, it came as a shocker to me when a couple of my customers, one in the automobile industry and the other one in the real estate industry, wanting to put together a virtual strategy, right? I mean, I never thought I would go and buy a house based on some virtual interactions or go and buy a car and kind of do it on a virtual thing, right? But today, near real life experience is what they are looking at, irrespective of the industry that you are in, right? And this is, I mean, the prediction also shows that this is going to grow from 65% to 85%, which means more and more industries, I mean, are going to come into the ambit of virtual engagement first, right? And the fourth thing I want to pick up from what Satish pointed out is like, today more than 50% of the contact centers are running on the cloud, right? While this has been the phenomena in the North America or India market, we have seen a humongous growth in the India market as well, right? I mean, frankly, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, we recently launched our India Cloud Node 6 months back, and then maybe I thought the timing was wrong on during the we are doing it during the peak of the pandemic period, but I mean, it surprised me that the amount of customers who have shown interest to move from a premise-based platform onto a cloud-based platform, right? So that's something which is going up. And the last thing is in terms of the contact center, almost like 70% of the contact centers are today using some form of AI and automation. We all know the kind of evolution of speech, evolution of like bots and so on and so forth, right? This has become more relevant than ever in the last 18 months. So that's the kind of growing, some of the points that I picked up from what Satish presented in terms of the trends that's happening in the market. Compare that to what we have done within, right? I mean, good or bad, we have created islands of technologies over the past, 10, 15 years as we kind of, grew organically or inorganically within the contact center space, by the way, right? And frankly, if you look at it, right? And this islands of technologies is not helping the customers. And the second thing, the KPIs that we set for ourselves are more inward looking. For a contact center, if you look at it, right? I mean, they would always say, my success metric is, efficiency and effectiveness, right? How do you measure efficiency and effectiveness? We talk about AHT, we talk about first call resolution, we talk about BHCC, BHCA, and you have numerous acronyms to talk about, right? But all of these acronyms or the matrices are predominantly more inward looking, and which is something which can be defined and improved. But what we are missing out is an empathy, which is more of a qualitative angle than a quantitative angle that I look at it, right? Empathy is very, very important, and that's the differentiating factor, right? You can drive empathy only by way of treating every customer interaction as if he or she is the only customer that you have, right? And like Satish said, when you offer personalized service, that increases the trust on the brand, and the trust improves the loyalty and the stickiness, right? So it's very, very important that we move away from having a more inward looking matrices to a more customer centric metrics as we move forward. And that is the gap that I see from what the market is evolving and where we are in the current state of readiness, right? So when I spoke to almost like 10 different CIOs after this report got released, and then it was a realization for both customers as well as us that there is a gap to address, and that is where kind of it is important that we act faster than later. And almost every one of them agreed, by the way. Yeah. So that's how I kind of see this reports, Selva, and it's a great eye opener, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Raja. That's great. Animesh, your thoughts on this, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Raja, and thank you, Satish, for the insights. Right. So from a solution integrator point of view, right, we have been observing the market and looking at the likes of large companies like Genesys, right, who keep on building products, put in a lot of R&D money, and right to always adapt to the new requirements, right. So what is really astonishing is the kind of monies with companies like Genesis are putting in R&D, and this shows that it is the contact center business is evolving much better than ever in the past, right? And I think Satish already talked about the advent of a lot of new age digital channels which needs to integrate it along with voice. And while the voice as a share would have gone down, but as an overall interaction, the number interaction with the customers has anyway gone up, right? So talking about personalized and personalization and more first time resolution, which Raja talked about, I think we also see a lot of ask coming from customers who have a legacy system, right, to ask, hey, while we want to do personalization, how do you take care of my data privacy, right? So obviously, companies which were or solutions which were created 10 years back and which have not grown from a platform point of view, we find a lot of challenges coming on then, whether to adopt to new channels or whether to migrate to a cloud, which customers are looking for the right reason, right? So I think my humble view is like in the past we had very silos contact centers, right, where the contact center was supposed to be a box where 20 agents are sitting behind, just answering calls and saying, okay, we'll get back to you as soon as possible, right? But I think now, I think customers from the organization who serve a larger set of customers, they want to look at how they tie up the contact center with the rest of the business applications they have, whether it is a CRM or an ERP, and provide a more personalized experience to the customer, right, using AI and data analytics, right? So I think very similar trends, Raja, we have been seeing. And and for us as a solution integrator, as a delivery provider and of managed services, we also have to keep on adopting and learning on your platforms and ensure that I am able to stitch that with the rest of the business application the customer uses, so that he in turn can provide a very personalized experience to his end customers, right? So coming back to cloud, yes, I think North America is much ahead, in terms of adoption to cloud. We are helping a lot of customers to migrate to them, and I think for the right reason, right? Once you have things move to the cloud, then changes, adaptation to newer applications, adding expansion seats and so forth becomes much easier, as well as manage security from a single central point of view, right? So I think it's evolving, and obviously the pandemic has speeded up the process, which Raja mentioned, because if 50% of employees still have to work from home, you need all these things together, right? So that's where we're headed, and I think more to learn from there, and I think Satish will share more insights in the detailed report. But I think we're in the right direction, and I think we're all there to serve and help customers to take them to the next level in contact center.
Great. Thanks a lot, Animesh and Raja. Now we've spoken enough about what are the trends, how is the market adopting to the pandemic and all of this. Let's take a quick look at the Genesis Cloud platform and see how they are helping build in all of these technologies that we've spoken about.
Pandemic has really changed the way customers interact with us. Voice is no more the primary media of interaction. Most of the customers resort to digital channels of communication. John Stamper is one such customer of Treasure Bank. In fact, a privileged customer of Treasure Bank. We also have our agent Amit Shrivastava, who's currently logged in into the Genesis instance, and he's available today to answer all the queries that the customers of Treasure Bank may have. Now, John Stamper is currently logged onto the Treasure Bank website, and he navigates to the banking section and to the credit card section. But he is visiting this site today to know more about the mortgage loans. So what John does is John clicks onto the mortgage calculator, and then he is going to populate the information with few details. Now he is in the process of updating all the necessary information that is required to calculate the mortgage. Now instead of going ahead and continuing with the screen or clicking the next button out here, John abandons this interaction and he then navigates to the banking section on this Treasure Bank. Now we already have a predictive engagement which has been configured on this Treasure Bank website. What it means is this website here is intelligent enough to understand that John Stamper is a potential customer as he backed out from mortgage calculator, and this is the right time to engage with John. Hence, there is an offer of web chat which has been offered to John Stamper. Now, John Stamper will go ahead and accept this chat and he'll start interacting with the agent. Now, the moment John accepts the request, there is a chat notification which has come up to the agent Amit Srivastav. Now the agent will accept the interaction from the interaction panel, and while he accepts the interaction, he also has visibility to the customer journey. So agent Amit Srivastav will will navigate to the customer journey tab out here, and then he can clearly see the customer's journey over the web page. Now, if he clicks onto the link here, the entire journey of John Stamper or the number of pages that he has clicked is evident to the agent. So agent is in better shape to understand the exact reason why John Stamper is calling. Now, agent also has the option of sending up the canned responses. Now, agent can quickly browse through the canned responses and select greeting and share that with the end customer. This not only saves time for the agent, but it also helps in sharing out the predefined templates which already exist in the system. Now, if I go back to the customer screen, so this is our agent John, and you can clearly see that he has received a message notification from agent Amit Srivastav asking how can he assist John Stamper in his journey. Now let's assume that John Stamper does not understand English and he's only well versed with Hindi language. Now John wants to know what are the necessary documents that are required for the mortgage loan to be processed. So what he's going to do is he's going to type a message in Hindi, right? Because that is the only language then John understands. Now the moment he types in the Hindi language, we can clearly see that onto the agent interface he has received information which is in Hindi language. Now, agent Amit does not understand Hindi as a language. So then what agent is going to do is agent is going to click on this chat translator button, which is going to do the real-time translation of the messages which are typed in by John. Now you can clearly see that the message has been translated to English, and now agent can understand what exactly the customer is asking for. So the request here is John wants to understand what are the documents needed for the mortgage loan. So now agent will go ahead and mention the documents that are required. So he'll type in Aadhaar card, and he'll also mention PAN card, right? Because these are the two documents that are required. Now you can see that agent is typing information in English. However, the customer John Stamper is receiving this information in Hindi. So if I go back to the customer's web page, you can clearly see that the message have been translated from English to a language which the customer understands, which in this case is Hindi. Now John is happy with the messages that he has received, and probably he is good to end this conversation. So John goes ahead and ends this conversation with the live agent. Now agent will go ahead. You can see that the chat has been disconnected, and the agent will go ahead and dispose this call off. As soon as John has ended this conversation, he suddenly realizes that he also wants to know the account balance, but probably he was not comfortable asking this information over the web chat. So now what John is going to do is he wants to initiate a chat with the WhatsApp message in order to understand what his account balance are. So let's see how John Stamper can get the necessary information that he is looking out for using WhatsApp as another digital mode of interaction. So John initiates a WhatsApp conversation from his cell phone to the Treasure Bank website. Now he types in the message, Hi Treasure Bank, and he will soon be greeted by a Treasure Bank bot. Now you can clearly see that the bot has responded to the chat of John Stamper, and bot is asking how he can help. So John wants to know his account balance. Right, and these are some of the messages which are getting exchanged between John Stamper and bot. And now you can clearly see that John Stamper wanted to know his balance, saving account balance, and the bot has responded back with the reply. Now bot is asking if there is any other service that John Stamper would like to use, and probably at this point of time John also wants to talk to an agent. So what he's going to do is he's just going to type in agent in his WhatsApp messenger, And you can clearly see the moment he types in the agent, the call is answered or the call is routed to an agent. Now, Agent Amit Srivastav now has access to all the past interaction which John Stamper had with the bot. Now you can see here the symbol as well, which signifies that John Stamper was first greeted by bot and he has already been serviced by the bot. Now, because John Stamper has wants or rather has expressed his desire to talk to an agent, the first thing that agent can do is he can type in a message stating that he can visit the Treasure Bank website and get the necessary details. Post which, uh, agent can go ahead and end this conversation because he has probably answered all the queries that John had. Now, at this point of time, Agent Amit is going to dispose of this conversation, yeah, because John has all the queries of John has been answered using the WhatsApp bot messaging. Now, John is really happy knowing the account balance that he has in his saving account, and he has decided to go on a trip. Now, he packs up his bag and then heads for a trip to the countryside. Now, the moment he steps out while he's traveling, he suddenly realizes that he doesn't remember his PIN. Now, because he's traveling and data network might not be that strong, John Stamper decides to give a voice call and try to get answers to his queries. So, John is going to dial the contact center number from his cell phone. The call should be routed to agent Amit Srivastav, who is there to help out the customers of Treasure Bank. Now you can see the call has landed to agent Amit, and Amit will answer this call. So call has been routed to an agent Amit, and agent Amit been relatively new to this organization. He wants to use the agent assist functionality which has been offered by the Genesis Cloud. Now agent assist is powered by Google and it helps with the real-time transcription of the conversation. It also assists agent by sharing the information from the knowledge bank. So agent has clicked on to the agent assist and now he's waiting for John to say few words so that it can be translated real time for the agent to understand it.
How do I change my PIN?
John wants to reset his PIN and the Google Agent Assist has done the transcription. You can clearly see the transcription in the chat window out on the extreme bottom of your screen. And he has also come up with the possible solution that the agent could use and respond back to the customer. Now, at this point of time, let's assume the agent there is certain other information which agent wants to share with John. Now, agent wants to share a link with John which will help him to reset his password while he's on the move. So what agent can do is agent can switch the mode of conversation while he's active on the call and he can send a text message which would be shared to the John on behalf of Q. Agent can either send an SMS or an email. Our agent will then go ahead and dispose this call. So far, we have showcased customer's journey from initiating a chat from the portal, from the web portal of Treasure Bank, using the language translator, his interactions with the agent, and then using WhatsApp as a media of interaction to know his account balance. Lastly, John wanted to reset his PIN and he had to call the contact center representative. Now, the contact center agent assisted John Stamper with all the queries, and agent in turn sought assistance from Google Assist or Agent Assist as we call it in Genesis Cloud. Now, while customer is really happy with his interaction with the agent, but then there's always an area of improvement, and that is when the supervisory or the quality QM functionality of Genesis Cloud comes into picture. We all know that in today's world, customer experience is of utmost importance, and the way we can improve customer experience is by ensuring that we capture or we take feedback from the end customer. Now, Genesis provides two different mechanisms to capture feedback. One is via the voice surveys, and the other is web based surveys. Now, depending on the information or the score that gets captured using these surveys, a survey score and a net promoter score gets aligned to it. Now, as a supervisor, because their entire job is to ensure that the customer service experience is enhanced, at the same time, they ensure that there are no knowledge gaps in terms of the agent's capability in answering the questions. So, supervisor, what they can do is so supervisors evaluate the calls where they think that the service score was less, and probably this is the area which needs, or probably the agent who handle this interaction needs certain coaching. So supervisor can click on this interaction and then he can get more information about what exactly went wrong with this interaction. Now you can clearly see the moment supervisor clicks on the interaction tab, he gets all the information about that transcription is made readily available to him. Now on the right hand side you can see the positives and the negatives which have happened during this interaction. Similarly, the supervisor also has the option of annotating certain aspects. For example, this is where the things have went well, while few seconds later this is one of the area of concern wherein customer was not really happy, or probably he was worried as to how things may end up. Now, this clearly is a dissatisfaction case that has come up, and supervisor can go through the entire transcript. They can specifically key in some keywords that they're actually looking out for. Let's say, for example, if customer or if supervisor wanted to know whether the agent was empathetic or had exhibited empathy during the call, maybe he can search for keywords like thank you or welcome, and you can clearly see that these are the words which the agent has used during his interaction. Similarly, the supervisor could check in for other key words, which he thinks is imperative during the course of interaction. Now, if supervisor feels that this particular agent needs to be coached, or there are certain things which he has not done right, he can go ahead and schedule a coaching with this particular agent. So supervisors can go ahead and schedule a coaching. Now by default, this interaction link will be attached to this coaching. But if there are certain external links which supervisor think that should be beneficial for the agent, he can go ahead and attach those links as well as the part of coaching schedule. Now supervisors can also evaluate the agent based on the interaction, and they can click onto the create evaluation form and then evaluate that particular agent. These evaluations not only help agent to improve their performance, but it also helps to increase the customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction or the customer experience is the end goal of any contact center operations. So this concludes the entire customer journey and how Genesis Cloud as a product can help enhance the customer experience either by using a language translator or by using a Google Agent Assist or by providing the necessary near to real-time speech transcription, which can come in really handy for the supervisors who do perform evaluations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for putting that together, Amit. I know 15 minutes is not sufficient time to bring out the capabilities of the platform, but what you've done is you've brought out predictive analytics, WhatsApp integration, seamless integration along with the context between channels, voice integration, and agent assist, quality management, and feedback management. All of this you've beautifully covered over that demo for us. Now, we'd be more than happy to schedule customized demos if needed. Please feel free to ask us for that. Now we'll move on to the last part of the session. Uh, Raja and Animesh, we've got a few questions lined up. Let me just start off with the first question that we've got. This is for you, Raja. What is the benefit of transforming to the cloud? A very obvious question that most people would love to hear about. And how is the Genesis platform cloud ready?
Cool. So thanks, Silva. I think this is a great question, and this is what we call it as a cloud conundrum, a question that is there in everybody's mind in the call today, right? I mean, to be or not to be on the cloud. Yeah. If it gives any comfort to any of you, let me tell you, India is among the top 3 countries globally when it comes to kind of cloud IT adoption. So a lot of your peers, our customers are on the journey already, right? I mean, we may not have a 200 plus billion IT market in the country, but within the 25 plus billion market that we have, I mean, we grow at around 32 plus percentage on a CAGR for the next 3-4 years is the prediction, right? And so a lot of customers are already looking at the benefits that cloud brings in, and they are on the journey already, right? the reason why they wanted to move to cloud, right? I mean, before I go and answer that, let me set a context in terms of the pain points that we are going through in our current set of assets, right? An average contact center today has 18 different technology vendors, right? You have 7 different contact center platforms, then you have something for QM, something for voice, something for, like a recording, some WFM, some, like some other vendor. And what we are trying to do is put them all together. And the manager today is managing technology rather than managing the customer experience, which he or she should be doing, right? Now, also, which is more relevant today during the pandemic situation, imagine the amount of effort and resources required to manage such on-premise assets spread over multiple geographies across the globe. One of my BPO customer in Chennai, he was telling me that, like they have 17 different data centers or delivery centers across the globe with, gateways and servers located in each of those places, right? And multiple infrastructure that is running, even to keep a tab as to kind of, this infra is outdated, this infra needs refresh, or this application needs to be updated and all of that. It's a major pain point, right? I mean, now the benefits to talk about, right? I mean, moving to cloud takes away the hassle of dealing with such umpteen number of technology vendors, right? You don't have to deal with, your hardware vendor, your gateway vendor, your kind of, like an application vendor, your recording vendor, vendor. All you'll have to do is subscribe to one application on the cloud and it's taken care of, right? Now, moving to cloud also brings in the agility and the flexibility the customer wants to manage multiple processes in multiple geographies, right? You don't have to do this across, and you don't have to kind of go ahead and then refresh that Dell server or some of the other servers that you have put across and so on and so forth, right? And moving to cloud also eliminates the need for the frequent updates and upgrades, right? I mean, especially when you have a platform like Genesis Cloud, which is microservices driven architecture where a new update can be run on the fly without even bringing down the system, right? A new feature can be added without even the customer knows this. And on an average, we had 15 to 20 new features every month, right? So if we do this on a Sunday night, I mean, Monday morning when the agents log in or the supervisor logs in, they'll have a list of additional capabilities that are available. Just click and then kind of put it on. It seamlessly kind of gets the new facilities onto this platform, right? I mean, so that's what. Now, it also kind of look at the security aspects of it, right? I mean, the ever-changing security threats and the security guidelines and the regulations, right? I mean, it is GDPR, whether it is PDP or whether it is SOC or HIPAA compliance, and more recently the personal data protection law that Indian government is talking about and the regulations that are going to bring in, right? When you have a platform on the cloud, I mean, we are compliant with almost every one of these things, right? So it's easy for us to kind of bring in the necessary changes under the cloud platform, which is in line and current with the changing regulatory as well as the security landscape, right? Finally, moving on to cloud gives you a great deal of commercial benefits, right? When it comes to an ROI or a TCO model. But keep in mind, right? I mean, most of us think that a cloud model is consuming from a data center, right? I mean, which is okay, more from a commercial standpoint, but from a technical and an operational standpoint, it is not right that you take an on-premise application, put it into a third-party data center or a telco data center and think that this is more of a cloud consumption. It is not. It's again a hosted model and not a cloud model, right? The difference is in a hosted model, you still have hardware there, you still have, like, I mean, application there which requires update, hardware there which requires, refresh every 3 years and so on and so forth, right? But when you talk about a cloud contact center running on a robust platform, like a robust data center like AWS, right? You don't have to worry about all of this, right? I mean, and the application that we offer is born in the cloud and built for the cloud, right? It is none like a premise platform put into this. So the way that I look at it is actually cloud, moving to cloud gives you the benefit of technical, commercial, regulatory, security, flexible, and all of this to the organizations, by the way. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks a lot for that, Raja. That's in detail. The next one is for you, Animesh. So what is the role of Servion in these engagements? Now there's Genesis, there's a company that wants to deploy contact center software. Now what role does Servion have to play in this?
Yeah, thank you, Selva. So I think Raja just expressed the complexity involved, right? And I think gone are days where when we were selling on-premise solutions, and every time you need a change, whether it's from a business application or from a contact center application, there's a massive restructuring required and so forth, right? So one of the things first benefit with the cloud offered obviously was, okay, let's put it in a place which is central, managed by somebody else, because the customer's core is to do his own business, not run everyday business in terms of how he manages his contact center, right? So we understand all that, right? And I think contact center remains to be the most critical link between companies and the end customers, right? And obviously with the adoption of new age digital channels, there are more challenges coming up in terms of how do we integrate all these touch points. So in most cases, right, customers will not have a huge IT organization to have those skills developed on that and build it over a period of time to manage these complicated changes, right? So that's where we come in, and we help the customers to connect the dots, not only in terms of the contact center application, but obviously when we are talking of personalization, customization, different kinds of reporting the businesses want for their own efficiencies, we need to connect the contact center with the different business applications the customer uses, right? It could be CRM, enterprise applications like ERP and other financial applications, right? So our primary role continues to be enable an integrated contact center, which not only improves collaboration but improves an overall operation effectiveness, right? So that's what we do as a change agent for the customer, and we say, hey, don't take that headache, leave it to us, and we'll keep on helping change. So having said that, once we do the deployment, then obviously the customer needs a long-term support on that. So we have a practice of managed services where so there will be Genesis, for example, as a main contact center component, right? But there'll be obviously different application touch points, connectors needed to connect to the CRM and so forth. So Servion as a solution integrator develops those, customizes those, creates a reporting structure for that, and then provides the wrap-up services around that, and plus long-term managed services, right? So customers, after 6 months, if they want to some new expansion or changes or some application build or maybe some IVR workflow changes, so we work with the business business agents of the customer and then and take it forward, right? And then Genesis comes in to provide more R&D, product and technology and license and so forth, right? So that's what we do. That's a primary role, right? To keep on engaging with the customer and help him sweat the capital.
The next one is for you, Rajan. Now we've seen different channels that have been enabled on the platform itself. So Amit walked us through WhatsApp integration, then there was chat and all of this. Now there's a question on what other digital channels does the cloud platform have? Now, are there any interesting new channels that are seeing some exponential growth, or what is it like? What are the capabilities in terms of digital channels?
Silva, look, I mean, I was just going through a recent survey which states that the number of interactions are going to grow by 3x in the next 3 years, right? If you're handling 1 billion calls today combined, I mean, it's going to grow to 3 billion interactions in the next 3 years, which means on a year-on-year basis, we are growing at 70 to 80%, right? I mean, so that's the CAGR that we are looking at, right? On the one hand, the number of interactions are going up, right? On the other hand, it is also increasing the cost to serve because the agent salaries are not coming down, right? The real estate costs are not coming down. Your network cost may be kind of flat, but it's not going to come down, right? If you look at all the aspects of cost to serve, it is going up, right? So the interactions are going to grow by 3x, and then the cost to serve of each of those interactions are going up, right? But on the other hand, look at the businesses, right? I mean, so their cost per customer is coming down predominantly, irrespective of the industry that we are in today. In a world where a cost economy, it's a cost-driven economy. If you look at it, right, I mean, whether it is you're in the airline business or you're into kind of a telco business, we all know, right? We have one of the lowest tariffs in the world when it comes to airlines, and when we have one of the lowest data and voice tariffs when it comes to a telco provider. So, I mean, the businesses are, while the customer base is growing significantly, the cost revenue generation, or the revenue generation per customer is also going down, right? So it's kind of a triple whammy, right? I mean, your interactions are going up by 3x, and your cost to serve is going up by 1.5x, and your customer value is going to come down, right? This is a triple whammy for the people in the industry. And if any of us in the call say that I have a 3x budget going, I'm going to create a 3x budget in the next 3 years, I'll be more than happy to meet them for a coffee or a beer tonight, right? So it's not, right? I mean, the IT budgets are also getting optimized. So we need to relook into the whole way that we are interacting with our customers and then optimize on many of these things, right? One of the major thing and one of the primary thing that everybody is looking at is to look at each and individual channels and then say, what is my cost to serve on that particular channel? We all know a voice interaction is anywhere between 3 to 5 times more expensive than digital interaction with or digital communication with your customer. So a lot of our customers started looking at digital as an alternate strategy to optimize and address the problems that I stated before, right? Like Satish, you saw that in Satish's slide, voice is still predominant in the overall channel mix, but the growth is becoming negative. The digital channels are growing more and more, right? By the way. Now, digital hence becomes an obvious choice for our customers. While Genesys Cloud, we are very, very strong on voice, whether it is inbound or outbound. We are even stronger on the digital channels, whether it is email, web chat, asynchronous messaging, bots, speech, automation, you talk of anything, right? Which does not involve a lot of human element into this, right? Because even in the cost to serve, if you look at it, human cost is going to be a major one. The moment you bring in human cost, there are a lot of associated costs, which means you have a real estate cost that is kind of coming into this. Then you have a logistic cost. I mean, in fact, one of my customers says they are running a cab company and not a contact center because the transporting an agent back and forth to offices is more expensive than kind of the cost of the agent in itself, right? So that's where we are seeing it, right? So we are very, very strong in some of the alternate channels that we talked about. Now, it doesn't stop there, right? I mean, you need to have strong partnerships for these channels to work, right? I mean, whether it is partnerships with Google, Microsoft, Amazon, or you talk about Adobe or any of those folks, right? So we have a global partnership with all of them, okay? Now, again, people think that digital channel is bringing in some more channel and then using it for addressing the customer queries or customer complaints. No, think twice, right? I mean, recently, one of our, global customer, who happens to be the largest cloud customer with 28,000 agents across the globe, a cab hailing company, launched, cab booking on WhatsApp, by the way. This pilot got rolled out in Lucknow 2 weeks back. And depending upon the success, it's going to kind of grow beyond, right? I mean, across India and other geographies as well, right? So it's no more about using a digital channel to interact with the customer. It's about using those digital channels to embed into the business applications, right? And that requires a robust API first technology at the back end to be able to do that. And that's where Genesys Cloud comes in the forefront, right? There are other customers, right? I mean, who use kind of extensively some of those digital channels for their business applications. Yeah. So now, if you look at it, I think whether from a commercial standpoint or a technical standpoint, from an operational standpoint or a business standpoint, digital channels makes a lot more kind of sense, and we are very, very strong on that. And in fact, digital has been a strong propeller to our cloud growth story in the last 18 months, especially post-pandemic. Just to let you know, we have grown our cloud business 127% year over year. Last year, that too during a pandemic year, right? It took almost like 4 years for us to reach X, and from X to kind of 1.5X, which means 50% of the growth happened in 12 months time period, right? So that's a kind of growth that we're seeing on the digital channels.
Got it. Okay, now a connected question to that, Animesh. Now he just dropped off at the cloud migration point, and this is very relevant for that as well. So what is a typical time frame for somebody to migrate from an on-prem contact center to a cloud solution? So is there like a typical time frame that we have?
So so we have seen different use cases on this, right? But obviously, if we compare with on-prem, it is 25 to 30% more efficient and faster, right? But so to take some example of some of the migration we have done for some of our US customers in healthcare, for example, right? We had some 12 odd locations with 450 plus agents. And we could set them up in about 9 to 10 business days, right? And that obviously meant it was during the pandemic, there was some work from home requirements. So we gave them soft phones at their different locations, but the basic functionality was up and running in 8 to 9 days flat, right? And there have been also some smaller contact centers, 250 seats, where again a chemical manufacturer, where it was up and running in 5 to 7 days, right? So it depends, right? So some applications can keep on building later on if the customer is adding up new stuff. And then we also have to look at some of the legacy applications or the legacy what you have. So I think the larger challenge definitely lies in what are the legacy system the customer has and how much you have to utilize that and move it to the new migration, right? If it is net new, completely green field, then I think it is much more simpler and faster.
Got it.
But definitely, I mean, there's no comparison with on-prem, right? On-prem is like it takes ages, right? We all know, right? I know some large telco deployments which goes as much as 8 to 9 months, right, to do on-prem. So I think Raj has already spelled out the benefit of cloud, right? And I think, and that's the reason the last 2 years is 10x of whatever has happened in the previous few years, right? And I think it will only grow, right? And with India in this region, I think the adoption is much faster. We see that, right? So I think it will only grow, yeah. And
got it. Thanks, Animesh. We are on top of the hour, and yeah, we have a few more questions. We'll come back to you on that separately. But thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us. Very insightful session, and thanks to the speakers, Satish and Amit. Thanks, that was a very useful demo. Now, while you wind up, there'll be a survey that you can complete, and then once you complete that survey, you will have access to those reports that we've walked you through. And there's another APAC relevant report that we will share with you post you completing that survey. Thanks once again for joining us, and have a good weekend.